We're going to discuss for a quick minute Thoth. Thoth, the mind of Thoth. You know, it's very important to know this because Thoth is like everything. And not just in the sense of his contribution to, the arts and medicine and all that stuff. That's basically the mundane world. We're not discussing the mundane thought in this. I don't do mundane things. The thought that I'm talking about, like in the beginning, we look at it from a scientific point of view or from my perspective. Something was always there. It's like chaos energy. It's there, it's wild, particles bumping off of each other, but in harmony. Right now, you need something to organize this and structure it. So look at it now, mind come. Mind makes up like a magnetic field. Now everything has a polarity to it that was chaotic at first. And you have alignment, North Pole, South Pole, and one next to each other. They start going up and down, going this way, and you have formation now. Now with this formation that we're talking about, what we're going to do now is put some thought to it. All right, so from a theological point of view, look at now the mind as the first thing to come into existence. You know what I'm saying? It's in existence, but it has nothing to be mindful of. So it can't really be mindful of its own existence until it starts to think of itself. And by thinking of itself, it creates itself. But it's no longer itself. It becomes like what's called an animation. It's now an offspring of itself, or like one sphere break off into a second sphere. Now this one now is called thought. Thought is Thoth. That's where you get the word thought from, because it starts it off as a thought. So now you're looking at the source of everything now after that comes after thought. So you're looking at thought as maybe the first son or the key to everything because he's the first. Yes, brother. So with Thoth now, you're looking at a concept. This concept was now projected into Hermeticism. Hermeticism is really the first and the oldest writing ever recorded. It's like all the Kemetic books, all the Egyptian books, all the Chaldean books, everything before Constantine and them decided to burn down the Library of Alexander. They copied it and stored it away underneath, what's called Hermetic writings. These Hermetic writings was here before Atlantis. It was here before there was a Bible. It was here before the hieroglyphs was there. All of it, when you do the research, the Atlanteans really is where Thoth really writing was flourishing and everybody knew it. And when it came now to after the flood, it was buried, and the Egyptian priests now had pieces of it. All the Egyptian writing, all the God stuff is pretty much allegorized sayings and teachings of Thoth, or what we call now in modern time Hermes. That's just a Greek version of the Egyptian Thoth. And the Egyptian Thoth just really means thought, the first thought, which is an animation, but it's real. It's a real spirit that you can look at him as the second sphere, being a planetary system that sends his energy and radiance down to us. And so we become awakened once we get this Thoth energy. And so you could have been alive for a long time, experiencing life, but wasn't conscious until you was able to have thought. This thought now is now recorded as man who first didn't have thought or was unconscious and started having consciousness and started realizing what was the source of this consciousness. It was this thought, and started writing great books, doing great science, and contributed all under one philosophy called Thoth. You know, this Thoth is what became Hermes, and the philosophy became Hermeticism, which now, you know, Plato learned it when he came to Egypt, fucking with the priests over there, and brought it back to those parts of the, what's that, the north? You know, up north, back where they're in the British areas and all that. This ain't not exactly in Europe. You know, Plato's from them funny little isle, right? You know, them plenty places, summer. But anyway, from his side, you got him who started spreading it out now under Neoplatonism. And then you got Aristotle following him and their whole crew. Then you got people, yes, brother, like Pythagoras too now. He came in and he started doing his own teachings. But all of them, they wind up taking these teachings back to Greece. And being that Greece wanted to be separate and thought it knew something, it started taking out some of the original teachings of the Hermeticism as far as the spirituality part. You see, when you start studying this stuff, which I had to do it because it started affecting my life. I was going through a very, very bad case of empathicness where every energy affected me. I'm talking, could be from the TV, the cell phone. It was fucking me up bad, and I needed answers because it seemed more like a possession than anything. So upon researching and looking into everything, you see that what the Egyptians was teaching, it was hidden Hermeticism, where they made these personifications of the mind, subconscious and everything, into actual gods and beings. Because in that world where we was once from, where we was one with the gods, we saw these energies. Thought is energy. Thought has form. So we saw them and we was one with them. That's what we call the gods. Those guys now govern many, many aspects of our expressions, our characteristics, and different aspects of ourselves. So, you know, once we realized that the Greeks, they started switching everything around. They took out that cause and effect. That's what we, or the Egyptians, practice all the time. Meaning, every thought, they looked at it from both angles. They didn't just look at it, well, I want to accomplish this. They looked at it that they want to accomplish it, but what would they have to do to accomplish it? And what was the consequences of it, the things that they did to get it, plus what's the motive for it, yes, and what gave them the ideas to do it. All of this has to be taken into consideration before any action was to be added to it, you know. So this is what we had lost, and a lot of these philosophies was coming from Pythagorean, you got John Dee's, and a whole bunch of other. It's like all the philosophers that we see in modern education that molded the system we working off of now, which is basically, what's his name? For medicine, y'all know the Hippocrates or whatever, we take the oath to him. Well, he has a lot to do with, which is Amenhotep. And all of these people now play a very important role in all of this because they took the original books that these people wrote and took away the stuff to make actually the healing work, the science work, the metaphysic work, you have psychic ability works, and rewrote them and put them into what's called our educational system, our life of reasoning, psychology. Anybody you know, if you do the research, they're part of an organization. An organization is a threat to national security. If you see any type of organization being formed, believe it's part of the government. The government organizes it. So anyone you see from your Black Panther organization to like all these now great inventors and philosophers who was part of some organization, some type of society, all of those is funded by your government to put up a foreperson in the front, a patsy that we look up to, and they feed them the information that they want us to believe, but that don't mean it's true. It just seems actual, but that don't mean it's true. And so what they did was they used those people like Pythagorean, which probably was just a pseudo name for their societies, retraining and re-educating of the books by many scholars, yes, yes, brother, and many wise men that sat around at the table and redid the Hermetic system to fit into a way that it won't affect other people or really nature. And so it won't heal, it won't cause you to do magic. So it later on made people start having to do spells and make up altars and make up the circle and pray to the four corners. When before, excuse me, the way Hermes would have taught you is the first level mind, the mind of the dragon, Paramanders, where you would learn the mind first by controlling the mind and learning that your only offense is yourself doing the defense. And you become now a master where you, instead of you using force against something, you unite yourself with it, and then you don't cause no force, and so that you have no karma in life. It's like you go in a pool of water. If you stand still in the pool of water, there's no waves, everything is still. But every time you take a step or move a hand, you will make waves. Those is what we're going to consider karma. So your job is to walk through the pool without causing no waves with it, and that's by not imposing your will or using force or coming across force and challenging it with force. So you have to use mind. This is a mind stage we live in. That's why we govern by Thoth. Thoth is the governor of all our experiences, but if you're not awake, you would be influenced by that which is outside of you. So somebody you come across, you know, pick a fight with you or yell and give you the bird or something, you bird them back. Now you ready, you angry, you got tunnel vision. This is our day-to-day living. You know, you look at society itself on the whole, we live in a society where we don't sell drugs, we don't make drugs, we don't make guns. But you see on TV, it's all about, excuse me, with every rap group, with every artist, you see them holding out money, wearing all these expensive clothes, and they showing you that this is the life to live. But they don't tell you the consequences of trying to live that life, of what it is to be getting caught with a brick or two, how it is to be going to court every week, how to know what it's like now that you got a felony. To me, what you see, when white people or a society give you money, they have you projecting an image, and we have our kids and teenagers buy into this image of these rappers or artists that don't really been on these corners slinging. They don't have no connect with the Colombians, and they don't fuck with the Mexican cartels. They're fake, and we believe that shit. Then you get caught up in what's called tag. A tag program for the feds is they'll bring the guns in and the drugs in. Give it to a bitch-ass nigga because he's so fucked up in the head and hungry for some money and his dreams and what he see on TV, he starts selling their drugs for him. Then they bust him and tell him, look, give us somebody else and we'll leave you alone. Who's doing this and who's doing that? So now probably nobody in the neighborhood doing anything. And what they do, he'll give you what he got caught with and tell you go sell it back to them. And they'll set it up. Now you're buying it from them and don't know it's them. You think it's a homeboy and it's cool and they met him, and you get caught up in this shit called tag. Now everybody's hustling in the hood and they didn't do it on their own accord. They got caught up in something. That's how our system is designed. And if like the kids don't know this and they watch these rap ass artists going on there selling themselves out, you know what I'm saying, knowing that they don't hustle. They don't get no money out on the streets. They ain't even got a real street back, and they kind of like bitches that's been fucked in the ass by the Jews and is there flaunting and showing that shit like they banged for that for real. God damn, what happened to our society? And they have no shame in their face, showing their face up there like a bitch, that they've been fucked and pimped, dropping money on the floor like they never had money in their life. Yo, I watched that shit, and the bitches in the club, don't get me wrong now, sex is everything. We supposed to be having bitches just around us naked, dancing over, inducing the kundalini energy. I ain't got nothing about that. I ain't even got nothing about my niggas out there just doing their thing, state to state, on all levels. Like I said, it's them bitch-ass, rapping-ass niggas that sell out and have these young kids doing that shit and fucking up their future for the white man. They making it a business, wearing their clothes and showing it, knowing that these young motherfuckers ain't got no fucking jobs and their parents ain't rich. How the fuck they gonna afford that shit? You telling them to go rob, steal, and sell drugs, they're like me. But you ain't doing it. You ain't got no court case. You ain't got no feds watching you. That's crazy. Man, listen, niggas gotta know. If your nigga ain't got no fucking ATF record, no Homeland Security record, no Fed records, he's probably working with them, man. Trust me. For real, for real. But anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is don't follow these young motherfuckers. They all part of this design that's here to make you fall. You understand? It's a system. And this part is also all connected to everything that I'm saying, because if you don't realize what's going on, the mind of Thoth is taken from you. And what you do is you believe that shit that you see on TV. And this is all part of Thoth's plan. It's all incorporated into one system to grow you, to take you from the animal to the higher self. Because if you can stay in that circle, that's no problem. That shit was here before we was here, and it's going to be here after we leave. But what happens is when you die, you have different levels. Now, plenty of us, especially the melanated black race, we do ascend out of ourselves on our own without us even knowing that. And so when we do that now, what happens is we don't die when we pass away. We go into a stage of you could reach immortality if you take yourself there. So you come out of the physical world and shift into another state of consciousness where you're alive. But being that you was like in the animal stage of that desire for the material stuff and what you see them flaunting on TV and all that shit, that's where you go to, like an underworld where your challenges start on that level of meeting people like that. But for you, it's going to look good at first. It's like being in the hood again. So you said, damn, this is good. I passed away and I'm where I want to be, back to the same shit like my niggas and do this. But you see how ancestors work and how the astral work. It's not what you think now. It's not no fucking joke. So first thing they're going to do is flash you. Flash you meaning that's just going to look all like you in the hood and everybody's there. But these motherfuckers going to turn into demons in an instant and fuck you up with some fair shit and shock out your whole fucking energy. And you're going to implode into yourself and pop up in another dimension. And you're going to keep going through this because it's like a trap to play with you. You got a bitch in there, you meet a woman, everybody share her. It's just like that. It's the Kundalini energy, and they don't know nothing about morals there. You understand? They just do what they have to do. So if you're not used to that, and you think you got a woman because you're going to think you're the shit and you in where you at, you're in for a lot of lessons that you're going to learn. So I'm just saying, don't get caught up in their bullshit when they're telling you to live like this with this rap shit and do this and go out and go get 10 jobs to get a pair of jeans and sneakers. You do that. But you be a goddamn fool, because when you die, that's where you going, man. It's called the underworld. I've been there. Past that level a long time ago, became king of the underworld and was queen with somebody else and had the child. My shit is crazy deep, but I'm giving you as inspiration and also guide stones to show you what is really supposed to be going on. You understand? That's why the message is. So all this now, let's get into the underworld with Thoth. Still, everything once you leave this world is mind. You're in the mind. So you're in Thoth. And Thoth is the guide and the overseer of all this. It's like you're living in the ocean, but the ocean itself is Thoth. So he's there. He sees everything. And you're just in the ocean on the deepest parts all over doing you. Going through tests, but he's overseeing everything. So that's what it is when we say we're in the mind. We're in the mind, and Thoth was the first, and he's the controller of everything. So these levels of Thoth lessons is the best lessons to learn first, because it make you non-impulsive and non-animal, because you're just impulsive from the animal because your parents. You're your parents, you understand? And all of us as parents are animals. The first parent of the physical human soul is the animal. We are precursor after. And so that parent was the one that trained us like fucking Tarzan. It's not there for no reason to tell you you got an animal soul. That's where you come from. But you're not an animal. You're a man. But we have to evolve now, and that's where we're at. We're in the stages of evolving, and if you don't take yourself to the highest form of man, you got a force working against you now, which is you've seen on your media, heard on your radio. Those trying to keep you asleep so that they can keep the income coming in of their royal bloodline and family and keep the deception going, because they're part of this system and they work for the opposing force. So you got to realize you got two forces here, one of the light and one of the dark, and you from the dark. Yes, brother. And if you don't realize that, you're going to see it, and it's just going to look like life is beautiful because you think you're from the light, but when the light go out and it's dark, it's going to see that it's like a living hell. So in the dark, you learn that it's not really a living hell. You're living in matter, and matter is just something that we see. It gives us actually levels and frequencies of densities for us to stand on, for us to sit on, for us to eat, for us just to navigate and have an experience to learn from. So what we do, we project our images. You have what's called holographic images that is passed down to you through what's called your mind. Now your mind holds everything because the brain look at it as the antenna. But the brain is also a weapon against you because it has two parts to it. It was conditioned from the 40, 20, 10, 15, whatever years you've been alive. However you lived your life, it only knows that. And it used the best out of that to equate to what it believed to be true or not true. So it's not really good. Your brain is like your enemy because it used instincts later on and become its own entity. And you just, if you're kind of weak-minded or if you're sleeping, it'd be your brain really that's doing everything, not really you. You know, and your brain is only there to take care of itself and survive. It really don't give a fuck about you. So that's a whole nother thing. So by being conscious, you control all of those things. You make decisions of yourself, and that's thought, you know, you think. And so that's the first levels of really thought and pulling everything into one concept so that you realize this. So in the deaf world and in those world where I tell you thought govern, you're in the mind, so what you think is what's going to happen. There is no more physicalness to stop you in matter. You're in just pure matter. So you yourself is the projection of these things. Whatever your thought is, poof, energy turns to it automatically. So you have to watch your thought. That's why they tell you to purify yourself before you go into meditation, else it will be projected onto the matter. Your thought is what's called mental projection. It's a plane where it's just images there. But these images now is what you're going to see when you start thinking, when you start looking. They overlay it so you can have an experience like you know, having to know it for these experiences. Yes, having to know what these experiences now put you in a state of understanding that world. It's like I can show you things that you never seen before. But if I try to tell you what it is, you can't identify it. So your brain have a way of trying to say, all right, if it's look like a circle, like a wheel, it's the wheel. Even though it might not be a wheel, it might be some foreign AT that we never saw before, but our mind can conceptualize it, so it adds the missing parts to make it a wheel. So this is really how you dream now, because they're not actually pushing these images onto you. What they do is they show you pure matter. You see the beings, you see the entity, because energy is intelligence, and once it starts thinking, it forms a spiral, and then it makes a form upon what it's going to do. Under observation, you make it come alive and bring it into characteristic and give it consciousness. So with that in mind, these now is how we overlay them with our symbols that we get from the holographic world of the mind. This is the astral world. What's in the physical world, that's why they call it the holographic universe, is only projected through light, That's why at night you can't see. You don't see nothing when it's dark because it's the rays of light that actually brings these holograms in. Now you still bumping into things because it's matter and it's solid and it's vibrating at different frequencies, but you can't see what it is. It's still all just dark matter to the eyes until light come back and start giving you these images and your mind put it all together. That's why they had that show like Mind Games where they fuck with it and show you different things, because the mind is not all the way, or the brain really, it's not the mind. The brain is not all the way right, but it's the mind that fixes everything because it reasons everything. You know, that's a whole nother topic. But once you're in the astral world, that's how it works. Your thoughts, if it's negative, you're going to have a negative experience. If you think something that is against you, you're going to have it against you. It's going to fight you. But none of those is real. You understand? Look at it as in the astral world. How could anything touch you if you're a ghost, your soul, the eternal soul that can't get hurt? And so you will realize that everything that they're doing, and if you meet in a battle, if you meet in anything, it's not for you to defend yourself. It's for you to learn from and realize that this side of you must die. They're taking it out of you. They do that all the time. They take a different side out of you every time when they see that it's fake and it's pseudo. So you could be a pure person that don't judge, that don't think. You just there to learn. And then when you in there, you learn it. You come back out, you analyze it, and you match it up to your experience. Thus now you have a change in yourself. You change yourself by actually going deep within your own existence. Sometimes it could be an overlay projection. So it could come as a memory, like something like you got raped, or somebody had assaulted you that gave you some type of post-traumatic stress. These is going to come back as dream projections. So it'll be overlaid. You wouldn't see the astral world. You see the overlay of it, and your mind would then throw mental images to show you what you have to fix inside yourself. So we don't consider dreams. We consider dreams as mental projections telling you what it got to do. If it shows images of the car, the neighborhood, anything familiar to you, that's dreams. But I don't call it dream. Like I said, it's mental projection. What it is really, it's like you see the picture of Thoth. I mean, not Thoth, Anubis, when the person is laying on the bed, he's over them just looking down like how this is. So really, he's projecting something onto you. He's healing you. Every night when you go to sleep, you don't just grow or heal. These spirits come and they heal you, the gods. All the gods come and they heal different organs. Every cell have a god. So that's what Anubis is. He got billions of trillions upon all the gods inside his body. So as he wave his hand over you at nights, you get healing energy and everything. But it also now becomes like a water, a vapor that you project your mental thoughts on it, and it gives you back the data of what's wrong with you, like if you're doing a diagnosis on a car. And once it does that, it gives you a mental picture that you call a dream. You know, so it could be pleasant. Sometimes the pleasant dreams, it could be Anubis needing certain energy to balance you out. So you might feel like you horny, or you might have a dream where you're having sex with somebody because they needed to balance out that chakra energy. And sometimes you might be having anxiety or fear. That's the energy they needed from you. And so each one is to balance you out. They're not trying to do any harm to you, or you having some type of spiritual attack. There's no such thing. You only get spiritually attacked when you're pseudo, and they have to kill your soul and remind you of who you are as the eternal soul, that your experiences here don't decide who you are, because you're thinking this person is going to get me and they're attacking me and this is not real. You never thought like that. You used to have them as kids playing with them. They used to be like your best friend. You used to see them, talk to them, and was one with them. So when you see them now as an adult and run and say it's this, they know they got to get that soul out of you. That's not your real soul. That's not who you really are. So they humble you again and give you a whole bunch of experience. This is the whole process of alchemy. And they say, all right, when they say alchemy, that's what they're talking about. They mean that you're going through a process now of refining yourself, renewing yourself, and you're going through like a 3-stage atom level from E1 to E2 to E3 to E4, which now transform the body into a God-type state. And this is leaving the way you used to think, leaving people alone, denying your body, denying food, denying everything to allow the spirit to come out. This is a full cleansing, detoxing. And once you do that, now you become like a different person because you don't turn to the atmosphere. You don't turn to really books. You use books after you had a dream, after an experience to connect something. But you really go into the stars, you go into the moon, you go into the sun, and they're going to give you these experiences and teach you. With these lessons now, you're able to ponder on thought and ponder, and these will bring new thoughts into not just the Akashic records of consciousness, but new thoughts into you. And you will have now your own self back that is not reading from a book or teaching other people science or elaborating on the bunch of lies that we've been hearing for years. You will be able to decipher truth and what's not and have many different experiences. And at the end of this all, the journey will make you like a Reiki master where you have the power to heal people with your hands. You can heal people long distance. You could connect to them and read their mind and astral project to them. It's about really healing and not just healing psychically. It's also about healing mentally and taking the demons out of them, doing exorcism through love, using the Kundalini energy. All of this is one system that was called the oneness of the all. And that's what we lost. We don't connect with each other. We're not united. We think each other's against us. And we have these bad thoughts, these demons. If a person is out to hurt you, trust me, your spirits is going to tell you and protect you. You don't have to keep your defense up or don't trust. Because some of the things you don't trust is the message being sent to you by ancestors, but you never received it because it came as an untrusting message. Anyway, I think I did this long enough. I just wanted y'all to understand these things. University of Conscious Science. One love.